I'm José Stevens from Power Path Seminars and School of Shamanism. And want to welcome you to this short podcast on my new book, A Shaman's Manual to Extraordinary Practices. And this is a work that I've been dreaming about for a long time, actually many years. And I'm super happy and excited about it finally being published, and want to talk to you a little bit about the book and also maybe introduce you to some practices that are in the book with the time that we have. So first of all, this is a book of practices. Now, most people don't realize it, but we spend, as human beings, we spend a good part of our lives practicing things. From the time we're little, we practice walking, we practice talking. As we grow, we practice other things. We learn how to cook, and we practice that. We learn maybe songs in school, and we practice that. And throughout our lives, every time we have a new interest, like maybe we adopt a new sport, or we want to learn how to play tennis, or we want to learn golf, or any number of things. We practice for a while, so until we can do it with pleasure. At first, it might be a little rough and clumsy, and so it's not until we get the muscle memory and we know the rules and the basic movements, and then it begins to become a really enjoyable, really something that we pursue a lot of, and we continue to practice. So people practice all kinds of things. They practice what they're going to tell the boss when they get to work. They practice new technologies. When you get a new app, you have to learn how to use it. And so people practice using the app until they get it down. Maybe it's Google Maps, maybe it's something else. So it escapes our notice. We don't necessarily realize that we're practicing things, but if you just notice in one day, just take one day and pay attention to all the things that you do during that day that are actually practices. Even warm-ups are practices. Like a singer practices their scales to warm up before maybe a show or maybe an opera or whatever it is that they're doing. That's practice. And so I find that practices are extremely important and extremely helpful. And the practices in this book, some of our practices help us in life. They're practical, like learning how to use an app. So fine. But that may not change your life. It may not have a really transformational quality to it, but it's still useful. The practices in this book are all practices that I use, and I use most of them quite often, maybe even every day. Maybe some of them are maybe once in a while. And a very few of them are ones that I do once in a long time. But nevertheless, they're practices that I find extremely transformative. Now, I've been gathering these practices for many, many years, over a long, long period of time, and gathering them from many different sources. Some of them are from mystic traditions. Some of them are from shamanism, different schools of shamanism. Like, I'm particularly fond of the Toltec approach to shamanism. And so some of these practices are Toltec, and some of them come from other parts of the world, like Mongolian and that sort of thing. So they come from many different sources, and some of the practices I've just stumbled upon, and you could say they were just given to me by my own guidance. And I just discovered them as in the course of my daily life. And so I've included those too. So we're going to I want to mention that a lot of the practices most of the practices in this book are very simple. They're very short, and they're purposefully easy to do. I didn't want to include any long, difficult practices that have many, many steps and take a long time. There's plenty of those out there, and I do some of those, but I wanted the practices in this book to be very accessible and easy to get down. And throughout the book, I give a commentary on the theme, the set and the setting, the theme of what this practice addresses. And there's a lot of information in those commentaries. So I hope that you will find those very useful. And then I go into the steps of a particular practice that addresses that theme, and take you through all the steps, which are usually not many, and you can get a pretty easy and clear idea of how to do them. So that's the way the book is set up, and there are different groupings, which I'm not going to go into here. They're organized according to certain themes. So, well, without further ado, I'd like to take you through a few of these practices, because I'd like to help you to get started on them. Let's put it that way.